Oh, Ken. Oh, he's traveling this week. The list for roll call, Lenza? Okay, yeah, you have one here, right? Okay. What's our first agenda item?
Approval of the agenda.
Approval of the agenda. Everyone see the agenda? Is everyone, any questions on the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Anyone second the motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Agenda's approved.
Okay, approval of minutes from July 6th.
Okay, any discussion on the minutes from July 6th? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Shannon made a motion. Is there one second?
Second.
Ken Cleveland seconded the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
I guess I got to abstain. I wasn't here.
You're saying nay?
Abstain. I wasn't
Abstain.
here.
Oh, you're over here. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, minutes passed. Moving on. I think it's my report. Oh,
Chairperson, public comments.
Any public comment? No one's here. Okay. No submittals, right?
No submittals.
Okay. All right. So chairperson's update. Since we last met, which I think was July 6th, Ken Jackson and I met with the finance director, Marianne Silvestri, and her assistant director, Sharon DeVoe, to review the two RFQ/RFPs for the architect and the project management firm. All in all, I think there weren't many changes. There were some typo type changes that had to be made. And we changed the date for submittals from, I forgot what, I think we had July 29th in there originally. We moved it to August 5th to give the different companies more time to submit their bids. We didn't meet the target date of July 15th to put it on the state portal. We actually had someone at the town hall who was able to do that for us, so we did that. There has been, I guess, a good number of emails back and forth, people requesting additional information from Lisa. So people have seen it. There's been some traction, which is good. We do have a session this afternoon to talk about the overall process. So we'll save that discussion for later. The other thing that I spoke to Marianne about was the charter. So our charge, I should say. So in our charge changes that we approved last time, we had talked about not really requiring the town manager to approve our final choices, that the committee would pretty much hold it, and maybe it'd just be like a check in the box for him. That didn't go over well. Tony definitely does want to be involved. So we have on the interview committee, So a couple of things. One, there was a suggestion that we select a subcommittee to this committee for the interview panel so that we're not all involved. I think it'd be easier to get through the interviews that way. We can talk about that after I'm done here, if that's something we want to do. Personally, I feel like we all have vested interest in these vendors, especially the first two that we have to go forward with. So I don't see the drawback to having as many people involved in those in the interview panel as possible. If anything, having us all at least listen, and maybe just a few of us ask the questions might be more prudent, so that we don't have like everyone asking questions. The other thing was Sharon DeVoe is going to be on the interview panel as well, representing the finance department and the town hall, I guess. I have no problem with that either. I think that's actually a good idea, so get her perspective on some things. So just putting both of that out there, we can talk further about whether or not we want to create a subcommittee for the interviews. With the bids coming in August, where August is probably going to be a pretty heavy month. I know me personally, I'm going to be away for most of August. So we'll have to figure out like who's going to be able to do those interviews and when. And going back to the discussion with Tony, I did relay our concern. So one of the concerns I had was, being involved in manufacturing for so long and just procurement activities for so many years. What usually happens is that you get a bunch of bids back and, you compare them and you narrow it down to your top three and you say, this group's really great except for XYZ, but that group's really great. They do this better than that team. They do this better. This other group does better than this other group. And there's trade-offs with, no one's going to be perfect. And there's going to be trade-offs with each vendor. And then you open up the actual proposals and you realize that you have one outlier than the other two, or you have two that are really, really close together and they're off by just like a couple $1,000s or something like that. And the direction is you always go with the lowest bid. But sometimes that lowest bid doesn't really justify the trade-offs between the two competing suppliers, right? So you may have it in your heads like, oh, we really like this one more than the other based off of whatever things and the whatever. Basically what I'm trying to say is that it may not be a clear-cut answer that you always go with the lowest bid. And because we are all going to be involved in the interview process, and then we are involved, we know exactly what we're looking for, what we need. And the town manager won't be part of those discussions because he's not going to be sitting in on the interviews. He's not going to have those presentations in front of him. He's going to hear everything secondhand. My hope is that really the decision of this committee holds throughout the entire process, so that if we come back and say we really want to go with, this company, even though they may not be the exact lowest bid, that recommendation is taken without hesitation. And we don't have to provide more than our substantiation to get that approved.
Yeah, for some reason I thought the requirement to go lowest bid was on, I can't remember what the purchase order rules were for the town, but I thought there was a difference between if you were getting a service versus a product. I thought the product was a little more clear cut, but the service there was some discretion. But you're right, something about the town manager having have to approve certain conditions.
So the town manager right now wants to approve it all, whatever our decision is, assuming it's the lowest bid. So if it's not the lowest bid, we may have to provide, we will provide substantiation either way. It's just past experience may make it a little bit more cumbersome, that's all.
Okay.
But we're all on the same page over there. We all want the same thing. I'm not overly concerned about it. But in terms of changing the charter to include the specific wording we had discussed, it's probably not going to happen. So we're just gonna have to hope for the best. Unless you want me to go and push harder, which I can do also.
Was, were our proposed changes to the charter even on the agenda?
Last meeting we had them on the agenda, we talked about them. And we
No, with town council.
Yeah, oh, yeah, so the town council meeting was supposed to happen a couple weeks ago, got canceled, and we were supposed to bring up the charter then, and they had a copy of our charter revisions, and that's where they came back and said, no. Not
So-
they.
so they
A
said-
few people came back and said, no.
So like when you say no, mean like they wouldn't put it on the agenda.
They're not gonna approve anything that cuts Tony out of the process.
But they're not even, did they agree to put it on the agenda, the town council agenda for discussion and for a vote?
Not with, my interpretation was not in the current format that it was in. So I could definitely bring it up and say, okay, if you don't like what we have, that's fine, go make the changes that you recommend, but we need to, and give them our position as far as like what we want in there. Speaking again to Mary Ann, she made it sound like you don't have to go through the effort of saying that you guys are responsible for every vendor, because it's kind of just known already that you're going to do it. Even though it's not explicitly written in the charge that we are.
Okay.
It makes me uncomfortable, because I'm more of a, is it written on paper kind of person. But I can certainly bring it up at the next town council meeting again and just, or not again, but I can bring it up at the town council meeting saying this is our desire, is to include all of it, just to be clear. And have them decide if they want to go through the effort of making that update. I mean, it does require them engaging the town attorney, and there's a cost associated with that, so they may decide like, yeah, I think we all understand the intent of the charge, and you don't have to worry about making that official.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's value in having that discussion at the town council.
Yeah, so I can definitely bring that up. To that note, we'll need revised minutes or a revised update for the next town council meeting, if there's been any revision.
For the charge.
Just our minutes, my report.
Our
out to-
report. Oh, yeah, of course. Yep.
Yeah. The next one is next Wednesday. I believe.
August 10th.
August 10th, which I should be back for, yes. Okay. I'll be flying back that morning. So the bids went out. We're gonna, by next Friday, we should have a list. I emailed Amanda at town manager's office to ensure that we get notified as those bids get in, so we can get a copy of it and review them. Once we have the full list, we will schedule a time to go review them in a closed session, and then narrow that down, or just follow the process, I should say, really. But I won't know what the extent of that. There's going to be a lot of them, so I won't know the extent of it until I get them all delivered to us. That is all I had on that. So could we discuss real quickly, do we want to develop a subcommittee for the interviews? And I think the only way that would really work is if there's a group of us who is going to be around for all of August for the most part and consistently be able to attend all the interviews.
So what our options are to do the interviews as a full committee? That's option one.
I think everyone's invited to all the interviews.
Okay.
Right? So we can all attend all the interviews if we want to, but there should be a smaller committee of, say, 2 or 3 people who will be doing the actual asking the questions.
Oh, I understand. Okay.
And those 2 or 3 people should be consistent throughout all the interviews so that we have the same people who have seen all of the different vendors, right?
So when we go forward and build out the schedule for the interviews, we don't have that scheduled, right?
We don't have that schedule yet.
Okay.
We won't know that until
So
we have
that
the full
can-
list of bids.
Okay, so the committee would kind of work to put together that schedule. It'd be to their
Yep.
schedules, and then all broader building committee members are
Right.
invited to attend.
Yep. Right.
Okay.
So, I mean,
What other responsibilities would the subcommittee have?
they would, at the end, report out to the whole committee, what their selection options are based off of what they've seen. And everyone would have, like, if you attended the interviews, you'd all have input to them as well, but.
And would the broader building committee vote on that selection, or would that be of the purview of the subcommittee?
That's a good question. I would say that the broader committee should be able to vote, but if they weren't part of many of the interviews, then it's kind of like, maybe they shouldn't. I think we have to trust the smaller committee's judgment on that selection based off of the fact that they attended all the interviews. If there's people who did attend all the interviews, but weren't necessarily part of that subcommittee, then they should have the option to vote as well, since they heard everything. But, yeah, Jessica.
Can I propose that that subcommittee also puts together, if there's some standard criteria that we're going to use to
Yep,
assess
that's what, we're going to be doing that today as a group.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then would that subcommittee summarize all of those
Yep.
assessments?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. My recommendation, Ken, at a minimum, you should be on there for the architect, because,
I think Ken Jackson should be on the
and Ken
committee, too,
Jackson as well, yeah.
as long as he's available. I'm available after August 5th for the rest of the month.
Yeah.
I agree that there should be a subcommittee, just because there's a limited amount of time where these people are going to be interviewing, and we'll be asking them questions.
Yep.
And if we have the entire group peppering them with questions, we'll run out of time
Yeah,
fast.
absolutely, yep. Like I said, I'm unfortunately gone for most of August. I would have liked to be in the subcommittee with my project background, but I don't think that'd be fair or feasible for this team. Because I do want to make sure we get this moving through August.
With the idea that we were going to schedule a day of ideally a single day, maybe for the PM and one for the architectural, but we did them in succession if the schedules work out.
Yeah, yeah. I'm here. I'm traveling from the 4th through the 10th. Then I'm here the 11th and 12th, and then I'm leaving the night of the 12th, and I won't be back until the 25th.
Yeah.
So that doesn't leave much of August for me. I mean, I could always do a Zoom, I guess, but I think this needs to be in person. I wouldn't want to do that. So don't bank on me, I guess. Unless we have that pocket on like August 11th or 12th to do it. But that's like a Thursday and Friday, so we could in the evening.
Yeah,
or
we
10th
have
and 11th, or 11th. We have a meeting on the 11th, actually, right? We have our committee meeting on the 11th, so that might be tricky.
Yeah.
So we would need another person, is basically what I'm getting at. Is there a third person who's going to be here for most of August that could participate with? Are you around? Are you
I should be around.
okay?
I think I can do it.
You want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
I think John would be good for it, because he dealing with facilities maintenance and things
Yep.
for his work. It'd be perfect.
So John Post, Ken Jackson, and Ken Cleveland. Then.
I'm glad you volunteered, because I would have recommended the three of you.
Will there be any sort, not an interactive Zoom, but any opportunity for anyone else to watch remotely and just hear what's going on?
I don't see why not. We'd have to set it up. We just need to make sure that it's on a line that's not public,
Right.
like a Zoom, not a that.
Right.
Can we? Can we do a Zoom on here? We can.
Yeah, I think it's been done before in here.
Okay, so let's do that then. We'll do a Zoom.
Because
A private Zoom.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to hear what they
Yeah.
all have to say.
Yeah,
I've
I
never
would-
been through the process.
That's a great idea, because I would like to listen to it too, even if I can't ask the questions.
Right.
Yeah, and then just one question I'm thinking through kind of the role of the subcommittee and the role of the building committee. How I might want to phrase this, like, will the building committee if members attend the interviews, be able to like provide their feedback and input to the subcommittee for consideration.
Yeah, I just not during the actual interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like there'll be kind of like a,
Oh, yeah.
for any committee members who are present, there'll be a time to like discuss.
I think at the end, there'll definitely be a
Okay.
discussion period, and then
And then during
in
the
our next
actual
meeting, will be a discussion period.
Okay.
Yeah.
And during the actual interviews, the committee will kind of run
Right.
it. Okay,
So the
yeah.
way I
think
envision it
that-
is, there'll be a lot of
that seems to make
discussion
sense.
everywhere, and then at the next building committee meeting, the subcommittee will come with their recommendations, and then we'll vote on as a committee, we'll vote on the recommendations.
Okay.
Right, the entire committee will
Yep.
vote on the recommendation.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
Yep.
Okay. Do we need a motion to create that committee?
Yes, we do.
I would like to make a motion to establish a subcommittee titled Interview Subcommittee.
Interviews, yep.
Interview. Is that the right word?
Sure.
Interview Subcommittee for the building
Anyone-
committee.
Anyone second that motion?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, we have created an interview subcommittee. Congratulations.
And then I would like to nominate Ken Jackson, Ken Cleveland, and John Post to serve on the subcommittee.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Congratulations again. Okay. All right. So next on the agenda is a closed session, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna go in closed session. So if you're not on the building committee, I kindly ask that you
Okay, so we declare this back.
Okay.
Declare us back in closed session as of 7:31.
Are you ready? I'm declaring this session back into public session as of 7:29 p.m.
I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to move the executive session to be after item 10, comments, updates, announcements from board members and administrators.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, agenda amended as noted.
Okay, so next up is the Communications Subcommittee report. So for the Communications Committee, we updated our comms plan throughout the end of the year. Our goal for the remainder of the year is going to be keeping our community involved with the project's progress and major milestones, and also letting our community know how they can provide input into the project. With that, I remind everyone that you can email the building committee, sign up for updates, attend meetings, or watch the live stream. We'll be making some new updates to our website, mainly adding a news feed feature to the front page that has a listing of milestones. So things like the RFPs are released and decisions are made. Folks can go right to the main page and see it. And then we'll be shifting our newsletter to a monthly distribution. So it'll go out at the beginning of the month. It'll let folks know when our meetings are, any of the key topics that will be discussed in the upcoming month, any decisions that were made in the previous month. And then we'll also be making kind of a highlights reel of that and sending that out to many of the organizations in town that, would be interested. So we could send it to the senior center if they want to send it to their distribution, PTOs, things like that. And then we will continue presenting and attending town council meetings and Board of Ed meetings. That concludes my report.
Excellent, thank you. Any other comments? Anything anyone else on the board wants to bring up?
So next agenda item is public comments.
We have no public people here.
The only thing I'd just say is maybe it's a little bit too far in advance to discuss this, but as we lay out what our plans will be once we have the PM firm and the architecture engineer, thinking about how we get that public feedback in for different design aspects, whether it be the parking, whether it be the lighting around the soccer fields, where I wasn't sure if we were going to, through that channel communicate like, hey, on this week's agenda, we will highlight or specifically seek input or comment discussion on this aspect. I wasn't sure if that's how
we probably want to have specific topics at our meetings that we want to discuss with the architect.
Yeah.
Like we may discuss the gymnasium one day, and we may discuss parking one day,
Yeah.
Where people can come and provide their opinions. But at a minimum, we do need to make sure that we loop in the police department, the town engineer, Parks and Recs, like all those people who will be impacted by those designs.
Yeah.
So we just need to keep that in mind as we go forward. That, yeah, it's great to get public feedback, but not to say it's more important, but it's kind of critical that we get the feedback from those other departments in the town.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think like once we have the firms on board, right, that'll be, something that we'll kind of need as a comms committee, even just like ballpark. This is generally like when we would discuss these and key public feedback input.
Right.
The current plan we have is through December, so
Well,
any of those major things that happen before then, but yeah, I mean, we definitely want.
I'm hoping that the project management firm, whoever that might be, will come up with basically a schedule for those types of discussion and help guide us with, what should get covered. What's the timeline, for all the design process? Because they're not going to design the whole thing at once. There's going to be specific sections of it. So I'm hoping that they come to the table with that.
Yeah, and then if we have that schedule, that's when we can also make sure we engage those other organizations and say like, oh, at this meeting, we're planning on discussing the soccer fields, right, at this meeting, so then we can make sure Parks and Rec is there and things like that. Right. Yeah, I think will be very important to stay on top of that.
Absolutely. Okay. And we may need more frequent meetings, depending how quickly we want, but then, they have to go back to the drawing board and come back, so I don't know. We'll have to work with them to figure out what that cadence is like.
Mm-hmm.
I think once we get there, we will need more meetings.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep. What are we going to do with all our time when this is all over with? Oof.
ECS.
ECS.
There
we go. Next project. Okay.
Right.
Now.
So now public comments.
Public comments.
Okay. And then comments, updates, announcements from board members and administrators.
Anyone have any comments? No? Okay. Now is there a motion? Oh, go ahead.
You're an administrator.
You want to put the microphone on?
Just use the mic, yeah.
Am I allowed to sit in those interviews?
If you'd like.
Okay.
I'll let you.
Thank you. I just want to be there so
Yeah.
for the academic picture.
Sure.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thanks.
Anything else? Okay. Now is there a motion to go into executive session so we can discuss the strategy questions?
So move.
Did you use?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we're going into executive session. There's nothing left after this on the agenda.